When you first start playing New World Aeternum, you're going to be asked to select an archetype, also known as a class, to kickstart your adventure. Please note ahead of time that you will not be stuck with these classes. You will have the flexibility to change up your character as you continue to play the game. In today's video, I really want to just call out the differences of what these different archetypes are and the benefits and negatives of each one to kind of help your adventure from day one. Now, if you've been playing on the PC, you have a pretty good understanding that this probably will just be overridden pretty quickly in the game. I mean, within the hour, you're going to be able to change your weapons and start leveling up specific combos and builds. So really don't stress about this, but I do just want to kind of call out what options you have and why you may pick one over the other. The first option we see here is the soldier, and it looks like we've got the sword and shield as well as the hatchet. Now personally, I'm always a fan utilizing the hatchet when leveling up my characters in New World because there's a range of debuffs and it's just quick and dirty, great with a light build, and you can really grind out pretty quickly with the hatchet. It looks like each archetype you are also given a small boost in 3 different trade skills. Now we do not know entirely what this boost is, but I'm assuming it's starting you at level 5, 10, 15, maybe even 20 within these 3 different trade skills, which long story short will not have a huge impact towards your character. And really, I don't think it's going to help you that much. Maybe it'll help you make a little bit of gold in specific raw resource grinding, such as grinding out some iron ore, steel ore, and mithril pretty quickly. But other than that, not a huge deal breaker. It looks like the soldier, you get a boost in weaponsmithing, mining, and smelting. Next up, though, we have the Oculus, which is a pretty interesting one. Oculus, you get a boost in jewel crafting, mining, and stone cutting, and utilize the ice gauntlet and the fire staff. So it's a pretty cool ice and fire build here. A lot of intelligence builds are focused around utilizing these 2 weapons here. And again, jewel making, mining, and stone cutting. Slight boost right off the start, but really not a game breaker. If you want to start out and consider yourself a range player when you play MMORPGs, then I do recommend you kind of playing around with this build. It's not going to give you huge benefits. It's easy to survive early on, so don't be worried about being, close range compared to further back using magical or range weapons, because you'll be able to just be completely fine throughout your gameplay and learn pretty quickly on what works and what doesn't. Next up, we have a Mystic, which is the Void Gauntlet and the Life Staff. It took me a second there. But you can see that once again, you have a boost in Arcane, Harvesting, and Weaving, so some slightly different ones, but again, not a game breaker. Next up, we have Destroyer. Pretty cool skin here, honestly. Like this skin, this head skin right here is not currently a skin today. So I wonder if they're going to be somehow utilizing archetypes with early on transmog. I guess we'll find that out once the game actually does launch or once the beta is out there. But this is the typical bruiser build. You get the great axe and the hammer. If you tend to be the type that wants to just jump into 50v50 wars as quickly as possible, a majority of those builds tend to be medium to heavy bruisers utilizing both of these 2 weapons. So maybe just get a little comfortable with it. If you really want to make sure you help out your company within wars, typically they always need bruisers, so this could be potentially a safe build to kind of start playing around with and just testing out. Plus, Great Axe is great for mobility. You've got charge where you can kind of move around your enemies pretty quickly. And then the hammer also provides a good amount of rend, which is a debuff on enemies to help you take them down easier, regardless if it's PvE or PvP. Next up, we have the Sword Bearer. This is a pretty cool one because you're utilizing the blunderbuss, which is a bit of a range weapon, as well as the greatsword, which is a 2-handed weapon that dishes off pretty good amount of damage pretty quickly too. If you're not entirely sure if you want to be a melee, close up in their face type of player, or a little bit further back playing range, utilizing some sort of range weapon like a bow, musket, or a magic weapon, then maybe this build right off the bat will give you just the feel of how melee versus range weapons really work and can just give you a better idea of the overall gameplay. Other than that, I'm not sure if we dive into these other two clips in the footage we have today. Yeah, but the other two we have are spear and bow. Again, a great one to kind of get a good feel of close combat and range. I personally love using the spear when I'm leveling up characters because there's a ton of debuffs. It's quick, you can dish off tons of damage, and there's lots of CC to kind of get you out of sticky situations. And last but not least, you've got the musket and rapier. Once again, kind of a good idea to kind of play around with these three archetypes if you're not entirely sure if you want to go range or melee. But hey, based off the archetypes itself, you really don't have to choose one or the other. If you really do kind of like utilizing both types of combat, then go ahead and kind of move forward with builds that utilize different combos like these three here. Again, if you guys have been playing New World for the last few months or even years, you have a pretty good understanding that you have a lot of customizability as well as flexibility when it comes to the different builds that you have. You are not stuck on those combinations that I just shared with you. If you wanted to, you can use Ice Gauntlet and Warhammer. You can use the musket and the fire staff. There's an endless amount of different combinations with different builds you can utilize. And these archetypes just typically share some of the most common ones and some of the ones that actually work together when it comes to different attributes. When I say attributes, I'm talking about things like strength or intelligence, right? Intelligence are typically utilized for those weapons that utilize mana. So that Oculus build that calls out the fire staff and the ice gauntlet utilizes intelligence as the main attribute in both of those weapons. So you can focus bumping up intelligence on your character to dish out as much damage as possible with that specific build. Again, this is not a make or break. There's ways to kind of distribute your attributes to make your build even more powerful than full int or full strength, just based on what you're using and what type of gameplay you're actually utilizing. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Again, it was just a quick sneak peek of what archetypes are, and long story short, it's just a quick made up build for you to kind of get off the feet, get your adventure starting and just get you the feel of how the combat works. You are 100% not stuck in these archetypes, so do not stress about it. You have the flexibility to change it down the road and just mess around a little bit more with what works for you. If you guys enjoy New World Aeternum and you guys are excited for the official launch that's coming up, be sure to like and subscribe because I'm going to be sharing a lot more coverage to give us a closer look at what actually this game is going to include. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys later.